Cause of you feelings I handle with care. Brothers recognize your light, they can't handle the glare. I ain't the type to walk around with matching shirts. A relationship is effort, I'm at your work. Be the one to make you happy is hurt you the most. The end is near, come close to the most high. Regardless of what happened on him, let's rely. Yo, sing it up. I can't hear you. Yeah, let them know about the light, y'all. Come on.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Beats, Brews, and Points of View podcast. I'm your host, Neil Richter, along with my partner in podcasting, sitting to my left, E-Man Bates.
The PIP, that is it. And we are at Stack Garden's release party for Hopewell's Hey You for episode 136.
Yeah.
Hold
But
up.
anyways, that song that I started the
I was saying
episode...
that it's just not true. It's cap, to be
Sorry,
honest.
that was the wrong one.
But to start that off tonight was Common performing live at the Detroit Jazz Fest a couple weeks ago. The reason we wanted to start it with a little bit of Chicago and Detroit mixed together is because of the guests we have today from a couple of different breweries, one out of Chicago and one out of Minnesota. And I will kick it over to E-Man to give these guys a proper intro.
Yeah, man. So these guys got together and collabed on this Kolsch Lagered IPA here called Hey You. We have Phil from Fair State and Jonathan from Hopewell Brewing. Guys, welcome to the show.
Hey guys, thanks for having us.
Yeah. Welcome to the show, guys. I appreciate you guys coming on for us here.
And
Yeah,
then shout out to Mark too for getting us all together over at Mark Stack Garden.
Yeah.
Big
Yeah,
shout out.
man. No, definitely.
Yeah, man. Thank you. And then also shout out to the member of this team, this person that put this together here. Shout out to Frost is Rad for actually getting us all
Definitely.
together.
Shout out to our good friend
Yeah, man.
Frost.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we want to ask you guys a little bit of questions, but before we do that, we want to definitely try a little sip of it. I'm not drinking the same thing as they are because obviously you guys know if you listen to the podcast, I don't drink. But I am drinking a Casamera Club Alta, which is a non-alcoholic soda company that is right out of Detroit here.
That stuff's great.
And I've got a little bit of a history.
Casamara is awesome.
Yeah, I've never tried this stuff. I was like blown away when he showed me their entire cooler of non-alcoholic beverages. I'm like, holy crap, you guys have a lot of selections out here. So I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, it says, we like to end a long day with a crafted, considered drink. For a long time, that meant reaching for a drink with alcohol. It's so easy to find with delicate flavors and aromas we crave in a cocktail, fine wine, or craft beer. But it's much harder to find the quality drinks without alcohol that have been crafted to let our minds relax and wander. And that's why we decided to make our own. So yeah, it's formed here in Detroit, and if you guys get a chance to try it, I would go check it out. Let me see how I think of it here. Oh shit, that's good.
Yeah, does not suck.
That's really good because most of I feel like you have a lot of non-alcoholic drinks that are really low on flavor, and this thing is packed full of flavors. So yeah, I really enjoyed this.
That is a perfect review. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I'm not as great as the descriptors on these on these drinks as he is. He's more of the beer drink man, but
No, that's great. I mean, I think that's a testament to Detroit's beverage scene,
Yeah.
where you don't need to have alcohol at a rad bar like like Stock Garden. They have awesome options outside of just beer or just wine or whatever.
Yeah.
It's cool that the non-alcoholic sort of scene is beyond just non-alcoholic beer. It's like rad pop.
Yeah,
you
and
know,
like,
I don't know what you call pop in Detroit.
No, it's pop.
Yes, that's
Soda.
pop.
Yeah,
we call
that
pop.
soda's a southern
Okay,
thing. I
I'm
feel like. Yeah.
pop or Coke. You call Coke in the South.
Soda pop. Cover both. Soda pop.
But yeah, I definitely enjoyed that. We'll try that again. I've been on a quest to find some good stuff. I've been sticking to mostly the carbonated water and stuff like that. But yeah, this is a good alternative.
Have you
to
tried
soda.
one of those phony Negronis? I just tried one
No.
today.
Phony Negronis.
It's a phony Negroni. I know the distributor that we are on. We share a distributor, which is part of the way that we met. But they have this funny looking triangle bottles of something called a phony Negroni, where they got the Negroni cocktail flavors. It's bitter, but it's all non-alcoholic. I just tried one of those today, and it was pretty cool.
That's awesome. Well, tell us a little bit about what brought you here to this place. Like, how did you get the connection to Detroit, and how did you get your guys' beers here in this bar?
Yeah, well, a little background on our brewery. I'm Jonathan from Hopewell. Hopewell is a brewery in Chicago. We opened 7 years ago, and when we opened, so in 2016, we were self-distributed, meaning that we were small enough that we were allowed to deliver our kegs. I was delivering our kegs directly to the bars. Driving a van around, doing the sales, delivering to bars. And then we started to grow a little bit, added a canning line, and it started to make sense to expand a little bit. Hire people both in Chicago and think about going to other markets that we liked visiting or that we thought that our beer might have relevance in. So I had been visiting Detroit for years. My wife grew up in the suburbs here.
Okay.
So we still have a lot of friends in Detroit and would always come and like go to shows at like UFO Factory our friends play at a lot.
The hot dog place. I love it.
We used to go to Lager House and it was just, we really loved it here. So when we met the distributor, because with alcohol you have to sell through a third-party distributor.
If you go over, I know in Michigan, like how it works, if you go over 2,000 barrels, like if you're self-distributing more than 2,000 barrels, you legally have to go through distributor.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's, you can do it independently.
Yeah, and that's true. And then if you're out of state, you'll always have to go with a distributor. I
Really?
believe. Or maybe I just wouldn't want to self-distribute across a couple of states to get to Michigan either.
I mean, they won't let you traffic beer across state lines.
I thought this was America.
But for us, the first place that attracted us was Collect Beer Bar. Back in the old location.
that place.
They used to live in Chicago. They reached out directly to us and asked if we'd be interested in selling them beer. They thought we could just kind of send it to them at the time, and it was, no, we can't do that, but actually that does sound interesting. I do go to Detroit a lot. I do really love the city. We think that our brand does have, like, we could kind of be relevant to people here and be something people wanted to drink. And so we kind of started talking to people who could sell it and met our distributor and actually noticed that the distributor was already selling two brands we really liked, Fair State and Shacksberry Cider. And we were like, oh, well, if they went with them, we don't really need to check up on them too much because we respect both of those other breweries.
Were you dealing with Kyle over there at Collect?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Shout out to Kyle. He's a good guy. So yeah, I love that place.
Last time I was there 6 months ago or something, it looked like they had a kid. So congratulations to them. They're
big deal, man.
Growing. And
have you been to Two Birds yet?
yes.
Down here on the east side? Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, that place is like great
The
cocktail
one
bar
place
as well.
I haven't been that they are affiliated with is Huddle, the ice cream.
I haven't. Oh, right around the corner from there.
Yeah, and I think that they own that as well.
Yep.
And I love ice cream. I don't know why I haven't tried that
Yeah,
yet.
the soft serve ice cream, dude, it's solid.
How late are they open?
We are going there
It's a
right now.
fantastic point. Or how early we should go there for breakfast. But that was what really brought us to Detroit. Is that it was a city that we were interested in, that we loved visiting, that we thought that we could have some relevance in the select spots, and we found a great distributor to work with, and so through that we kind of met Fair State. But how did Fair State?
So I'm Phil. I work for Fair State Brewing Co-op. We are union-made and cooperatively owned brewery out of Northeast Minneapolis. We started 9 years ago. We're having our anniversary party this weekend at the tap room. I actually came from Chicago, worked in beer bars, then wanted to have a life, have a family, buy a house. I was like, I can't keep on closing bars.
Yeah, I know that routine.
So I joined the dark side of distribution. Like the amount of people that are like, oh, welcome to the dark side. Started working for a distributor. Got into it was great being a beer buyer and beer director at a place and like being able to do it, but then like moving over to distribution and being able to like, oh, all these bars now I can have some influence on and do, and did that. Then got transferred to Wisconsin. Moved to Wisconsin, started the same thing for the same distributor. It used to be called Wirtz Beverage. If you're a hockey fan, you probably know about the Wirtz family, the Blackhawks. So Danny Wirtz, a very good friend of mine, convinced me to come over to start working for them. And then brought all these breweries to Wisconsin. And while I was there, we went to Minnesota for Cider Week, and everyone was like, "Oh, you need to go to Fair State. You need to go to Fair State." Like everyone's talking about them. And so we headed over to the tap room. And each one of us grabbed a different beer, and we all had the same like impression. It was like, "Oh, this is really good. What is going on here?" And came back, and I couldn't get it out of my head. And I kept on bugging my sales managers, like, we should talk to them. We should bring this in. And so 6 years ago, we brought Fair State to Wisconsin. A year later, my boss left the distributor to become the national director of sales for Fair State.
That's what's up.
And then he hired me to run Wisconsin. And so I've been working for the brewery for 2 years, but selling it for 5.
Yeah.
It is a crazy thing that you get to work for one of your favorite breweries in the country. I do feel like a used car salesman every once in a while when I tell them, like, you should really buy this beer. It's one of my favorites. I'm like, of course you'd say that.
Yeah.
Of course. I'm like, no, that's the way that I felt before I worked.
That's
for
why
them.
I work
Like,
here
that's
now.
why I work here now. Like,
I'm not saying that because they pay me to. I actually like it. It's really good.
Yeah, like I will like check out for a second here, and like I'm literally I will buy our beer with my credit card, not the company credit card, because that's what I want to drink. But then, I mean, the reason why we're here is, I think it was over a year ago. Hopewell popped up, and like we use like communication, like the Teams thread thing, like. And they were like, "Hey, there's this brewery in Chicago, Hopewell," and I wasn't super familiar because I moved 9 years ago, and you guys
opened 7, yeah.
Right. So they were not open while I was there, and they're like, "Hey, we kind of know these guys down there that they might be interested in doing a collab." And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but like even when you guys were getting started, you had reached out to Evan as like what the cooperative meant.
Yeah,
and, like,
it was once we were open and we were just interested in. Fair State has the most unique ownership model in craft beer out of 10,000 breweries in the United States, and we were just interested in how that works and like how that works for their employees. And we've experimented with some of the stuff that they've done in the past as well. So we met with Evan because he was just visiting Chicago.
He went to law school in Chicago, so he was already down there. Yeah,
and we were like, well, we'd love to work with you guys. You know, it was sort of one of those like long shot things where like, you know, stars in our eyes. Like Fair State's a really cool brewery. If you guys ever want to do something, and then you know, in the time since then, we grew a lot, and you guys continue to grow a lot and grow into new markets.
So and it popped up. It popped up that like, Hopewell is interested in doing a collab. We because I had worked in Chicago. It was very important for me to start selling our beer there again, like, and part of my overall plan of launching Chicago was like, okay, I can do this. I can go to these accounts. We can do that, but it's about being part of the cool kids club, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to talk to other friends that work at other breweries that I'm friends with, and let's do some beers because like. There's nothing better than being like, hey, we're buddies, and let's make a beer together and put our label or our name out on your stuff and to get your reach.
Yeah.
And vice versa. Like,
it's a lot of networking. I mean, because the
Absolutely.
craft beer market is very small in a way where everybody kind of knows each other and they kind of work together and things. I mean, obviously, like you got your ones that are just out of this world, like, you know, everywhere, but the actual independent scene and like the small batch scene and things like that, everybody knows each other. I've noticed.
And it just brings more people to your product because I'm sure you guys have your core group of people that support yours, and you guys have now. You guys both have each other's. So
and most importantly, it's really fucking fun.
Yeah,
dude, that's one thing.
No, you're totally out there.
But we went out. It started with we did a collab at Fair State. So Hopewell, I own Hopewell with 2 partners, Samantha and Steven.
I was gonna go into that actually because you guys met I was reading a little bit of your bio online. So you guys met in college, right?
Yes.
And things like that. Yeah.
Me, Samantha, and Steven met in college. We went to the state school in Illinois, U of I in Champaign.
Okay.
Big Ten school, but it was big enough that you can kind of find your own lane and find your own crowd in a smaller group than the 5,000 people in my graduating class. So we were the people who were very into craft beer, the three of us, and we were homebrewing together, and we were going to Friar Tuck and buying every single bottle we could find on the shelf. It was all bottles then, and kind of came up in beer.
That was
together.
not that long ago.
It was not
By the
very
way.
long ago.
Bottles were not.
But we became interested in beer together, kind of went into our own careers to build our skills. And I built my career in sales. Samantha built her career in nonprofits, and now is our operations sort of and branding lead. And then Steven had the most direct career path in beer, where he was a brewer. He went to school for brewing at UC Davis.
Oh, wow.
He worked at Widmer Brothers, or the CBA, the Craft Beer Alliance, making Kona, Red Hook, all of those brands.
big
Goose
wave
Island,
almost,
Goose Island
yeah.
for a little while too, and then moved from there to Brooklyn Brewery before we opened up Hopewell. So that's just a little background. But the three of us in this relationship started by flying out to Minnesota and just having a blast with Fair State, making a beer, and for that one we made a hoppy rice lager.
Yep.
For them to sell.
Premium light lager.
Yeah, and so that was super fun to go see their brewery, which is much larger than ours. They're in more states than we are, and they've been open a little bit longer. And the brewery they have is, we were just so jealous of their space. We're open on a industrial street in Chicago with no loading dock, just an alley that we're bringing all the grain in through and all the kegs out through. So we were very jealous of their space, and it was just really cool to see and kind of work with them and ask them questions like, how are you doing this hop water? It tastes really good. And then so we started with that collab, and this is the second collab that we've done with Fair State, called Hey You, where we're like, let's just do something totally different than either one of us have done.
Is Hey You a play off Pink Floyd?
It is. It's based on a psych song.
Yeah, it's either.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
So the first one too was.
the first one was a King Gizzard song.
I love King Gizzard and Lizard Wizard. There.
I love listening to him too.
Yeah.
I just am the worst with song names, honestly. I'll
Yeah.
just throw music on.
Well, Hey You
and
is an
just let
old
it
Pink
go.
Floyd song, so that's what I
Totally.
figured that was from.
Well, and I've used that in all of my social posts.
Yeah.
Because there is a line in that song that says you say that there's no hope.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I tie it in there. But unfortunately, as a sales guy, and when they were I was there the day they were making it, but I was not there for when they were actually brewing it because I actually had too much sales stuff to go do. So they were asking what song we were listening to. I have no idea. I was at this account.
Yeah, no, it's a good question, and it's whoever gets there earliest
Oh.
at the brewery puts on the music, so it's usually Cam on the package.
That is a great concept.
Whoever gets there gets control of the Sonos for everybody.
You're going to
Yeah.
make sure that you get to work on time.
Yeah, for sure. That's for sure.
And honestly, we went through 3 Sonos speakers and totally blew them out. Now we just rigged up this old stereo that we just plug the iPod into the stereo so we can crank it way louder. This thing's bulletproof. It'll never break. But the iPod's seen better.
It's funny, I didn't know, we are buddies. We're roommates. We
on this trip.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. We stayed last night in Grand Rapids together. We're staying tonight together. It's what I love about this industry is that you talked about some of the bigger breweries where there is this no, they're my rival.
Yeah.
There's definitely a little bit of gatekeeping in that community. Absolutely.
And that is not how I roll. It's never been that way. Even when I was a buyer at a bar, no, it's all of us. And today, he was at an account selling my beer. I was selling his beer. We did an event last night with our friend Wes from Oddside Ales in Grand Haven.
Dude, I love Outside.
I stopped at an account today, and while we're talking to them, Oath Distributing was not selling to this account, but Old Miami, you guys know that?
All too familiar.
So Old Miami, I'm getting like
It's easy to
shivers
get
right now.
goosebumps.
Get those
It's getting
goosebumps every
goosebumps.
time.
Well, because like one of my most influential people that I know in this industry is Mike Roper that owns the Hop Leaf.
Okay.
He's literally in my phone as Godfather.
That's awesome.
Okay.
And we were driving down the street, going to some accounts, and we drove past him like, holy shit, there it is. I've not been there, but like I've heard stories of this forever. Like, we need to go back there. Even if I just take a selfie. And our oath rep was like, I would love to, like, it's one of my favorite bars. And we went in there and talked to them, and they loved the beer, and they're like, well, do you distribute Oddside Ales? I'm like, no, but that's my buddy. And just text them right then.
awesome.
I'm like, hey, here you go. Like, we're all in this together for the right reasons. We're all friends. Like, with their production manager from Oddside came to our event last night. Like, it is, it's the cliche thing of rising tides, but like we literally are doing it because we'd love to do an event by ourselves and be like, hey, we're here. You're welcome.
Yeah.
I'm giving you my beer. But no, I assume nobody knows who we are. And maybe if I have Hopewell with me or Oddside Ales or whoever else that I'm buddies with, maybe some more people will come. But at the end of the day, I get to hang out with some friends.
Exactly, and everything works better with collaboration. We could try to say we want to pit ourselves against each other, and competition is good, and this and that.
Yeah, you don't
but
want to step on the
things
next
flourish
guy,
way
yeah.
better when you're collaborating and working with other people. So
No, you don't want to step on the next guy just to get over and things like that. It's all a collaborative effort. Like, everybody at the end of the day is trying to do the exact same thing, like want to get to the exact same place in some aspect of it. So it's just more of like having like that collaborative effort to like really like work together and like, you know, work towards one common goal, you know. You guys want to like distribute, you know, like different states, and you're doing that. Like, this is dope. Like, you know, Chicago, Wisconsin, or Milwaukee.
I live in
that's right.
Wisconsin, so
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Okay, perfect.
You're good.
And then coming to Detroit. I mean, that's like, you know, you got part of the Midwest covered right there.
Yeah.
So,
and a
yeah.
great business decision too, because Michigan is kind of like what California is to weed with beer. You know, we're like the beer capital going on right now. We've got a bunch of the
Shit.
award-winning beers.
We're
so-
like the weed capital coming too now soon. When that's big.
But no, and it's a good market to be in over here with that. And it's crazy to me how quickly the craft beer industry has grown too, because, you know, I turned 21 15 years ago, and even just 15 years ago, most of the people I knew were drinking your regular basic beers, you know, Budweisers, Bud Lights, Millers, all that kind of shit. And now just 15 years later, I mean, you'd have to pay my dad to drink one of a Budweiser or something like that. There's no way. Like, we're all in beer snobs now. It's like we all got these full flavored, amazing.
So that
craft
kind of
beers.
came around like the early 2000s too.
Yeah.
I know like when like ice beers were like a huge thing, and like everybody was going for like these high gravity beers. Like, you
Dude,
know,
Ice
what
House
gives me
was the first legal beer that I bought. Really? And they almost didn't card me. And I was like, please take my ID. I walked to a 7-Eleven in college and was like, here we go. And she didn't take my ID. I'm like, what? Like, please take my ID. It's great.
But yeah, like these like but like from the actual craft beer revolution is just kind of cool, like being, you know, like seeing it. I was way too young in the early 2000s, so obviously I wasn't around for that part, but like seeing like how, you know, when I first got into craft beer, I actually remember it was
What was your first beer?
I was just about to
what'd you
say,
go
man,
to?
the beer that really got me into beer, I think it was a Miller Coors beer, but it was called like Blue Dog or something like that. It had like a blue dog on it. It was a beer made with blueberries.
Oh, really? I remember.
Yeah,
Red
was
Dog.
yours?
it poured purple.
What was your go-to, like,
My first craft beer that made
Wild Blue?
not like the
Wild
first
Blue.
beer,
That was the
like
name of
your
it.
like go-to.
First beer that made an impression. I'm gonna use two.
Okay.
Hacker Shore Half,
Okay.
Oh,
and then Bourbon County Stout.
holy balls.
Back
dude.
when it was in 12-ounce bottle 4-packs
Yeah.
for
Oh,
20
yeah.
bucks.
I worked for good.
And
I probably sold you some
and they
of those.
couldn't give it away. I would go to the Wine on Taylor and buy that. But in college, I remember someone brought it, and I drank a whole bottle, and I was like, "That was pretty good." He's like, "Holy shit, you drink a whole bottle of that?" And I mean, the flavors are just so gigantic in that
Yeah.
that it makes an impression real quick. It's like
I think it was different for
electroshock
me
therapy.
because, like, I was not your typical teenager or college student. Like, I didn't drink that.
Right.
Like, I didn't start drinking beer until I was 20. I was not that like party kid.
Yeah.
Anything.
That's
And-
actually really good in the long run for you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not mad about it. But like, I think that by the time, and I grew up in the East Coast, but by the time that I got to that point, my palate was more developed, and obviously Sam Adams is a huge brewery or whatever, but like at that time was very East Coast centric, and so I think I was home from college, and my mom was like bribing me to like fold the laundry. She's like, "Hey, if you fold this laundry, I'll give you a 6-pack of beer." I'm like, "Done, no problem." And she bought me a 6-pack of Sam Adams.
Yeah.
That's a great one.
And
That's
like that's
awesome,
kind of how I
actually.
started. Like,
I feel like Sam Adams would probably be my first like experience
Yeah.
with some kind of craft beer.
Yeah,
But
like
then, like
Cold
when I went
Snap
back
and, yeah.
to Chicago to college, like I think my go-to for the longest time was Jim Dundee's Honey Brown.
I've never had.
Oh yeah, Honey Brown. I
Dude,
used to have
Honey Brown.
I used to have a cabinet full of that glassware.
Wait, is that the one with the barrel like as artwork on it or something?
I think there is a barrel,
I mean,
right?
yeah. I
Yeah,
think
okay, never mind, I have had it, yeah.
And I don't know that I ever bought a 6-pack. It was the 12-pack.
Oh, row.
The 12-pack was such a ridiculous price. Like, it was probably $8.99
Yeah.
Right.
back at the time. And it was my grilling beer. It was my, like, go-to everything. It was at
Yeah.
the Jewel Osco.
Of course.
And,
Gotta get it at the Jewels.
like, it was amazing. And I remember years later being a buyer of a beer bar and realizing that one of my distributors had that in their portfolio. No one has ever pitched it, like, to me, ever.
of course.
I was like, wait, you have Honey Brown in your portfolio? Like, yeah. Can I get a sample of that? And they're like, why? I'm like, because I kind of want to know, like, has my palate changed enough? Do I still like this beer?
Oh my god.
Or, like, has everything changed? Has, like, I don't know.
Yeah, when you get older, like the whole palate changes sometimes.
Totally.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I hated IPAs when I first started
Dude,
drinking.
Sierra
Hated
Nevada, the
them.
first time
Yeah.
you
Now
have
I
it, you're
love
like,
them.
this is the hoppiest thing in the world.
Oh yeah, the pale ale. Yeah.
This is the hoppiest thing in the world.
We went. There was a bar we'd go to because we met in college at U of I. There was a bar called Murphy's that, like, looking back on it, it's not a craft beer bar. They just had a couple different taps, but they would have Honey Brown, and any range of other beers. But I remember Honey Brown because there was a Keep the Glass night where they must have just been hemorrhaging money trying to get college students hooked on Honey Brown because it was like, I don't know, $2 for the beer and then another $2 and you keep the glass or something like that. And they were these gigantic tall glasses that every single one of my friends had as their like bedside water
glass.
glass. But that was how I also tried Spaten for the first time during Oktoberfest.
Well,
That was how we
because
would
at
try-
that time, well, at least for me, I'm a little bit older. We discovered last night that I'm a little bit older than
I think we're around.
But like at the beginning, craft was import.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
It was, you bought shitty import beer thinking like this is better.
Yeah, like
This is so much better.
Yeah.
You're like, no, this is garbage.
I remember one of my good friends would buy like the best stouts from Binny's, like imported Samuel Smith stouts or whatever. He'd be like, "Isn't that awesome? Tastes like soy sauce."
have you ever had like the
And you're
chocolate?
like, "Yeah, man, I'm totally getting that soy sauce," and you're like excited about it. It's like a meal in a bottle.
Dude,
Have you ever had the chocolate stout from Sam Smith? Speaking
yeah.
of which,
Oh yeah,
Dude, it's, like,
what was
super
the
rich.
Young's
Yeah.
double chocolate.
Yeah.
I remember
I've
being
had-
a big thing. Young's double chocolate was chocolate.
I've never
milk.
tried it.
That was awesome.
It was the pastry stout before pastry stout.
It was. It was so good. I just actually picked up a 4-pack of Sam Smith organic chocolate stout, and it's sweeter than I prefer now, but it was fun to revisit.
It is.
Speaking of my
I
mom-
like it, but it's still diabetes in a bottle. To me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you, but it is a good like tasting beer.
I think I think I can credit my mom for so much of my beer career. Now that I'm thinking back about it, is that like I think it was
Thanks, Mom.
home. I think it was home one time, and like I have a bunch of younger sisters, and I was home from college, and I think it was Easter, and they wake up and they got their Easter baskets, and She's like, look in the fridge.
That's your Easter
and there's
basket.
a 4-pack of Sam Smith. Like,
So
like,
I want
that's your Easter basket.
I do want to like I just want to ask like what got you guys into the craft beer, like even wanted to like pursue this path, I would say, in a way. Like, were you guys home brewing? Were like what actually got you like in this direction?
No, I did not homebrew.
We were big homebrewers. We were really enthusiastic, horrible homebrewers.
That's usually how it works.
We loved it, and it
So-
was just all that we thought about. It was all that
Our
we
co-founders, that's how we
planned about.
like. It's funny because we're doing this, and I'm learning about Hopewell that I didn't know. But like, our co-founders, Matt and Nico and Evan, met playing rugby, but they homebrewed together, and that's how they started deciding to make Fair State. But no, I never homebrewed. I know that it takes a really long time, and I'd be horrible at it.
Yeah.
I know too many people that make good beer that if I have a beer idea,
They'll stink up your house too.
Oh, right. Like,
I've brewed at the house. I've brewed when we lived together a few times.
if I had a beer idea, I know who to go to, and they can make it better than me.
But
Why would I do that?
But it wasn't always that way, right?
Oh,
I mean,
totally.
when we started, like, we would go to Friar Tuck, but, we were 19 or something at the time. So it was legal for us to buy homebrewing stuff and not legal for us to buy alcohol.
How does that work?
So
by the way?
I don't know. 'Cause, I mean, it's like
Yeah.
similar to bread ingredients.
I guess like extra steps.
But
Yeah.
we would homebrew because it was like styles that we wanted to try, and it was just an exciting. It was all we thought about when we were homebrewing, and you sort of get the idea in your head at that time. It was so cool to open a brewery with my friends, and we didn't open for 9 or 10 years after we had kind of gone our own way in our career. And when you finally do open, it's a totally different thing. You're running a business now. You need to think about like, what does it look like to compensate employees properly? What does it look like to grow the business and service debt? And all of that. So it's
the fun, sexy world of craft beer.
yeah. But the initial like
Nice little
love
grain
of
out
the
action.
beer and like the trying different styles, and I think more than trying different styles now, we're finding a lot more joy in trying to nail styles.
Yeah.
And trying to like zero in on the beers that we're making year round or the specialty stuff. I think that my new interest in craft beer is just trying to get better and better at the stuff that we're doing rather than just trying a bazillion different things.
Right.
But initially, the interest was I want to try everything. I want to try absolutely everything.
Dude, that's kind of how I am with this show. Like last week we had some, it was like a pickle goes, I want to say.
Was it
Distill Brewing?
Jonas?
It was
Distill.
Distill. Yeah.
Did you talk to Matt?
No, I didn't. No, we didn't have them on. I just like picked it up at the store.
Okay.
Just so I'm like, all right, I'll give it a shot. I'm gonna be honest, it wasn't for me, and I'm like, I kind of want to try this, and that's kind of what this show is about: is just try different things and like see.
I
What
mean,
you
we've done
like, what you don't
136 episodes.
like.
and haven't
Like,
beaten
we definitely
any
want to
beer,
mix it.
so.
We used to stick to like just Michigan-based beer for a long time.
And we still have for the most part.
Yeah,
Have been-
I mean, we have like few like deviations here and there.
And
but,
there's a
yeah.
long way you can go with just that.
Yeah.
Michigan beer
Dude,
is excellent.
100%.
Yeah.
And switching gears a little bit, because this is a beer and music podcast, one thing I've noticed in my travels and going to tons of music festivals and concerts over the year is how synonymous beer drinking and live music is. And you notice when you go to, like, I was just actually in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, for Blue Ox Music Festival a couple years ago. We got invited to do some press pass stuff there. And I noticed, most of the main vendors there are different craft brewing companies. So I was kind of curious to ask you guys if that's something that you guys have plans on maybe attempting to like work your way into, sponsorship at some music events and stuff like that, or like are you guys big into the music scene at all yourselves, or I'm kind of
I'm a recovering musician.
Okay.
Recovering musician.
Same.
We actually were talking to I'm very familiar with that fest.
Okay.
Eau Claire. I hope that you spent time a
Yeah.
little bit in Eau Claire.
Yeah, we did.
In general, the scene there is great.
Yeah.
That town is amazing. There's some great accounts there. Where did you stay?
So it was a camping music festival.
Yeah,
so
you
you
stay
camped
out-
there. We
you camped
camped
there,
there, and then on the way home, my buddy Andy actually is friends with Katie Leinenkugel. So we were able to take a
I've
tour.
heard that name.
Is that from a brewery?
So we were actually able to take like a really cool tour of the Leinenkugel
Well,
facilities on
if
the
you're
way
ever
back.
over to Claire again, my go-to place to stay is hotel motel called Oxbow.
Okay.
And it's a music hotel. When you check in, they have a whole vinyl selection that you can bring to your room because every room has a turntable in it, and so you check it out like a library.
That's awesome.
It's amazing, and their records don't suck. There's like stuff that I totally want to steal.
Yeah.
And I asked him like, so what's the like non-return policy like? And she's like, I don't know, it's like $25. I'm like, but amazing hotel, downtown Eau Claire. We talked to them. We were actually trying to do our hop water there this year. And the timing just didn't work out well, but I think we're looking at that for next year.
That's really cool.
Because I think that fest, they do a lot of really cool things at that.
They really
do. Justin Vernon's bringing back
Wow.
his fest for next summer as well, so there'll be a Blue Ox and his fest.
That's cool. One of the guys we got to talk to for a little bit too is an older kind of bluegrass country-ish artist. If you're familiar with Charlie Parr, he's from St. Paul, Minnesota.
He is from Duluth,
Minnesota. Duluth, Minnesota.
And I'm getting very close to the mic because Charlie Parr is the fucking man.
The man.
And he is a national institute.
Yep. And like the
Parr,
sweetest man ever. He was so friendly and so
God.
nice.
I want to hug you right now because you just said Charlie Parr. I do know Charlie Parr. Charlie Parr is from Duluth, Minnesota. He is very good friends with a bunch of my friends. He has recorded at the same studio that my band recorded at in Duluth, Minnesota. A visit to Duluth is not right unless you get to see Charlie play.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
it's unbelievable to watch him too. Like, and it's so funny because
Charlie almost slept in my house.
That's awesome.
That is actually pretty nice.
He played a show at the Subterranean in Chicago. It was all lined, and he's like, my wife needs me to come home tonight, so I'm going to drive home and I'm going to stop and sleep at this gas station. And it's like, all right, Charlie.
He couldn't have been more down to earth. Like, we're in the
he's-
backstage area where all the artists are. He's just walking around like, he's just like a normal dude. And then he goes on stage and it's like the crowd just erupts. You're like, oh, this guy's like the Beatles to bluegrass people.
Dude, he is so good. Two of my very good friends from college, one lives in Madison. The other one lives in Rochester, Minnesota. And my buddy in Madison is like, hey, Ryan's coming in. Charlie's playing at High Noon Saloon in Madison. Like, do you want to come? I'm like, yeah. Well, we realized that, like, he's opening for somebody else. And so by no means are we like, oh, we need to buy tickets ahead of time. We're, like, hanging out. And we get there, it's like, show's sold out. Like, what?
Yep.
Like, this is why he drove from Rochester. Can we go in and at least buy something for the merch table? They're like, yeah, that's fine. And so we go in, we're like, hey, Charlie, sell us some of your stuff. Like, we just want to give you some money.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's great.
Super awesome.
I'm a huge fan. He recorded and is very good friends with my friend Eric Swanson that runs Sacred Heart Studio in Duluth. That's where we recorded. But yeah, Charlie is a institute.
I'm glad that you have that story with him
yeah.
too, because that's really cool. And I had such a blast talking to him. And he was one of the guys that was willing to sit there and just chop it up with you for 20, 30 minutes without being interrupted or anything like that. So that was really cool.
Do you want to get into the Minnesota Chicago?
Yeah, I was going to do that. So
Yeah.
we do. We're going to kind of tease a little bit of info on Minnesota and Chicago, but we also do this segment on this podcast called "Something Old, Something New" that we're going to kind of marriage these two things together here. And each week we talk about some new artist, band, or album that we're listening to. And then something, a little bit older that we're listening to. And it doesn't have to be brand new. It could be something that's new to you, or it could be something that just came out. But yeah, we were kind of discussing, the history of both cities because they have such a rich history, both in Minnesota and in Chicago. We're big rap fans, so I obviously am a big Atmosphere fan out of there. But then also fucking Prince, you know, and you
And
had,
Ben Bob Dylan.
Who was that? I'm not familiar.
but you know what else that I was reading today that I found fascinating that they were talking about was the emergence of the punk rock scene in Minnesota in the mid '80s, and they said that was a really thriving scene in the concert area to go on there. So I just kind of wanted to, you know, because obviously you guys know it a little bit better than us. So like, what are your guys' experience with music out that way?
Or Hold Steady.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you're talking about right now, what I'm listening to is, and it's crazy timing, but like the Replacements,
Okay.
Minnesota, the Replacements, Paul Westward, like they just released their first major label album, Tim,
Okay.
but as the anniversary, they had somebody remix it,
Oh shit.
and it is
Sounds really good.
by far the best like special edition, anniversary edition, remix, remaster thing that I've ever heard.
I'm
in
not
my
familiar
life.
with them. I'm
Yeah,
gonna be
yeah.
honest with
It's
you.
it's a perfect brand to pick up on a
Oh my
drinking.
god! The Replacements, one of the few, the short list of people that have been banned from Saturday Night Live ever playing again.
Nice. It's them and
For
Kanye.
drinking
Love
too
it.
much. Yeah.
And Elvis Costello.
Yeah. But the Replacements, Tim, they
This one.
they took the original stuff, and like the first mix, like there's some debate. There's people that are just like, yeah, this is great. This is what we know.
Yeah.
Because that's what you got exposed to.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't know any different. But there's like audio files that are like, oh, the bass is super muddy, it's
Yeah.
this or whatever. They went back and took all of the tapes, all the tracks, and remixed it. And all of it, there's nothing new, but there's all these things that were not like audible or like
Yeah.
were not really in the cuts. And it's just so tasty.
Yeah.
Like nothing is super flashy.
You're always going to get a snob here and there that's going to be like, oh, yeah, I want the original. I want the fuck ups. I want the bad mixing.
Nobody.
Nobody.
Everybody, like, it is.
I want that
hands
studio
down.
crisp, like perfectly mastered. Like,
No, this is so much better.
Yeah.
It is hands down so much
Awesome.
better.
I got something new to listen to.
To the point where, like, I made a super cheesy, like, comment that, like, I wish that George Lucas had them remix the special edition because, like, the special edition would have been so much better.
Oh yeah,
Like,
no, Han would have shot first.
oh, absolutely. And not only you would have saw under the table.
Yeah.
And he would have been drinking
So,
if the Replacements were doing it.
For the last week, that's all I've been listening to.
Okay.
And it is so amazing that every time I listen to it, there's something that I've never heard before. You know, like
That's the best.
when you listen to something for a long time, like the second you hear something that's different, you're like, whoa,
Whoa,
what
was
is
that? Yep.
Right.
You know, like when you unplug your headphones just a little bit,
Yeah.
and it does that like weird, like, is this surround sound? Is this like this weird, like it's just one channel thing? And every little thing, like, oh my god, there's like so much more piano in this, or like there's some weird like backup vocals that I'd never heard before, but it's all just the most tasteful right amount.
So that's kind of like that's like a something old and a something new.
kind of yeah.
You're welcome.
No two for
That's
action.
pretty perfect how you
All
did
right,
it there.
before we go into Chicago,
Well, hold on. Before we go to Chicago, we got to finish Minnesota up real quick.
Okay.
I got one from
All right,
Minnesota
all right.
real quick before we go. So for my something old, I chose to stay in Minnesota, and as I just mentioned before, I'm a big Atmosphere fan.
Yeah.
And his album Seven's Travels is turning 20 this year.
Wow.
Which is
my God.
crazy to think about, right? So that was the one that I went with, and that's their third full-length studio album. It was released on September 23rd, 2003, through Rhymesayers, and it contained two singles that kind of made a little noise, but Atmosphere has always bubbled around the underground scene, so they had some placements, on MTV2 and stuff like that, and one of the songs, Trying to Find a Balance, actually made it into Tony Hawk's Pro Skater Part 2. But they've done, I think they're like really inspiring, kind of just like Tech Nine is, because they've managed to have very successful careers, never being with a major label, and not only that, been able to put on other artists under their Rhymesayers imprint. And I just find that really inspiring. I think that's really cool. And they're still dropping fucking great music. I think they have a new album out right now. So go check out Atmosphere 7's Travels if you've never heard it. That is my something old. And E-Man, now I can kick it over to you.
All right, so I'm going to do something a little bit nerdy real quick because I did a whole research thing on Chicago music before we go into this.
There's a rich history there.
There's a very rich history of Chicago music. So I'm bear with me. It's going to be super dope, though, where we're at.
He's just talking about the band Chicago. No, I'm just kidding.
I have a whole thing just on the band Chicago. That is
25 or
absolutely
61.
Oh, dear God, that'd be amazing.
All right. So, of course, our listeners know that Neil and I are diehard for the city of Detroit and the state of Michigan as a whole. But since this episode, we're dealing with You-Hopwell, which is a Chicago-based brewery, we couldn't do this episode without talking about the rich music history that our cousin West of 94 provided. Because of this time constraints, I'm going to do this as very abridged as I can because I do want to do I could do a full episode, probably a full series just on Chicago music as well. But we're going to kind of keep it like a little bridge. We're going to keep it kind of short. But Chicago has deep history in the roots of house, blues, gospel, rock and roll, and of course, hip-hop. Mm-hmm. Gospel, a genre of music that was brought over during the transatlantic slave trade, was a way for slaves to express the horrors and pains of slavery, mixed with African music traditions. By the way, it made its way to Chicago around the 2010s during the period of the Great Migration, where black people were fleeing the South in hopes to avoid Jim Crow laws that were going on there. They made their way north. Chicago blues became more of an electric, quote, urban take on the original blues that was started there in the Deep South, introduced electronic piano, guitar, and sound distortion to the fold of it. So you have like your Muddy Waters going
Cadillac
on.
Records.
Yeah, there you go. This later branched off into the surge of the rock and roll, surge in the late 40s and early 50s. Chicago already established a name for itself as a staple in the blues, and then eventually branched off into what we now know as rhythm and blues. The city played a very intricate role into the rock and roll revolution.
Yes, it did.
Later down the line, going into the 1970s, early 1980s, in the form of electronic music was starting to take fold in the world by storm, combining disco, European synths, 70s soul and drum machines, and a steady 4x4 time signature, and usually coming in around 120 BPM. Chicago's house music started making waves in the warehouse, nightclubs, and after-hour scenes over through the city, becoming globally recognized around the world. So quick footnote about this, there is debate going on which was first between Chicago house and Detroit techno. My Detroit bias would not allow me to comment on that. So,
We're going to throw blows here.
But another reason why the cities are married together, too.
yeah, that's why they're our cousin, man. Gotta love them. But, at heart and our core, Neil, I can speak for you too on this, hip-hop heads.
Yes, sir.
At the end of the day. In hip-hop, we know it started in the boroughs of New York, and we always give credit to New York for birthing the genre that we love so much. And ultimately, our part of this podcast is to give back to a form of music and an art form that we just love so much. Chicago has given us some of the greatest artists in this industry, ranging from the backpack alternative to the gangster rap subgenre of drill music. Mm-hmm. Notable Chicago-based artists, and I'm about to fly a bunch off right here at you guys. Wilco, Chicago the Band, Common, Kanye West, or Ye, Fall Out Boy, Herbie Hancock, Earth, Wind & Fire, Smashing Pumpkins, Muddy Waters, Lupe Fiasco, Chance the Rapper, OK Go, Sam Cooke, Mavis Staples, Disturbed, Chief Keef, Frankie Knuckles, Twista, Saba, No Name, Vic Mensa, and Malaya Jackson, who settled in Chicago at 16, but she's originally from New Orleans.
And more marriage between Chicago and Detroit. That song that I started the podcast with, The Light by Common, is produced by Jay Dilla, who he worked with his entire fucking career, who's his his mentor and everything, Detroit alumni. Rest in peace to Dilla.
Excellent segue into my something old, like water for chocolate, baby. That is the best segue we could have said.
That was perfect. We didn't even practice that.
This is a good podcast.
There's a great list of Chicago stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So, like Water for Chocolate is the 4th studio album by rapper Common, released March
My favorite Common
28th.
album.
It is my favorite Common. That and B are like 1 and 2 for me, but I do love like Water for Chocolate.
I just love Common on Sesame Street. Like the belly breathe thing, like it's that got us through so many hard times with my kids. Common and Sesame Street is my number one.
This was pre softer era Common.
Oh yeah, but yeah, the album is actually Common's first major label debut too.
I didn't even know that.
His fourth, yeah, I found that out too recently. But heavily production from Jay Dilla, Detroit native, so you know our cousin. Questlove of the Roots, D'Angelo, James Poser, and yeah, man, it obviously the light is like the big sample off of there.
Rest
Not
in
the
peace
big
to Bobby
sample, the
Caldwell.
yeah, man, it's definitely probably up there with B. It's probably my 1 and 2 because I mean, B was heavily produced by Kanye West, where like Water for Chocolate was heavily produced by Jay Dilla. So
And I've seen interviews because they had Kanye on Juan Epstein a long time ago, and he credits Jay Dilla as his favorite producer too. He's like, I completely bit Dilla. That's why I was trying to start that's how I got like learning to produce beats.
Did you read the book? Oh yeah, I know you read the book.
Which book?
Yeah, the Dillatime book.
Oh yeah, fuck
I know you read
Dillatime,
it. So
man.
they have that whole thing, and they
Jeez.
talk in the Dillatime book. They talk about the whole rivalry between Jay Dilla and Kanye West. And it's actually
Yeah, it's pretty
actually
awesome.
really interesting. Yeah.
If you've never read Dillatime, it's by Dan Charnas, this guy who just did like the most brilliant biography on him. I mean, before it doesn't even get into Jay Dilla's life until chapter 7. He gives you like a whole
backstory of
of
Detroit.
the city of Detroit, its music, the entire
Like,
backstory of
it's-
popular music.
Detroit
It's
was
crazy.
I mean, if you look at a map of Detroit and a map of Paris, it's the same. Like actually, like the grid wise and stuff like that. It's like
was-
this
yeah, it
one
was
big
designed.
circle. It was designed like that. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's why they call it Detroit.
That's why. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great list.
Yeah, man.
We just had the warehouse just got declared a historic landmark building in Chicago, like
Really?
the original like house, venue where Frankie Knuckles was like doing all that.
That's what's up,
That's
man.
really awesome.
Then,
Go
one
ahead.
thing I was reading about Frankie Knuckles, like just the house music scene too, and not only is it like huge, rich in like Chicago and black owned, it was also like really big in like the queer community as well too.
Mm-hmm.
So like because like Frankie Knuckles coming from that community as well, like it's that's a huge thing too. Like that's just part of note. But,
Yeah.
And shit, look how far that genre's come now. You got Beyonce doing house albums and shit.
She
so,
shouted
yeah.
out Chicago.
She
I believe,
did.
too.
She certainly did in her acceptance
And,
speech for
was it
for
Renaissance?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty cool too.
Jonathan, what's on your playlist?
Yeah, what you listening to?
It's a really, his answer was way better than
I mean,
about
it's fine, but like,
But
we all know that we're going to be less than that. But
I think what I'll highlight that I've been listening to lately, Chicago has a rich history of melodic punk music.
Yeah.
So I have been listening to Sincere Engineer. They're an indie
Okay.
band from Chicago.
Not hip.
They have awesome hooks, and it sounds like punks who got a little too old to continue playing so fast and so loud. So
I kinda like that,
Still
actually.
pretty gritty, but it's just meeting me right where I'm at right now. And they just did a so I guess in old and new, they're sort of in the same scene as the Smoking Popes is a great band from Chicago. And they just did a
literally
song.
was just thinking. I think
They just did a "Don't You Want Me, Baby" with
yes.
Josh Kaner.
Oh yeah, I saw. So I don't know the band, but I think Sincere Engineer opened for the Smoking Popes.
Yeah.
In Milwaukee, but it was just one person.
Yeah, it's just her.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But she's got a whole band that.
Oh, that's awesome.
is-
Yeah,
is
I've seen her.
fucking Good.
Uh,
And then I guess in terms of old, you already kind of touched on house music, which is probably the most, recent, like important music that Chicago's had an influence on. So I'll touch on Midwest emo, which is significantly lamer.
Fall Out Boy, I guess.
First wave Midwest emo.
Yeah.
Got it.
I kind of came up in the music scene when Fall Out Boy had just made it.
Yeah.
So we weren't playing at the same venues as them, but we were playing 3 years after they were playing at those venues
Okay.
and stuff. So they were sort of a signal that it's possible to make it in the music industry, even though it's not.
Yeah, for real.
But like them, and like I went to the same high school as the Plain White Tees.
Oh shit!
So like you just like be playing. My brother would play shows with them.
Did you know AM Taxi?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Was that you?
No, it was not me.
Oh, okay.
It was my buddy Jay.
Did you guys just learn something new about each other?
I used to go. My brother was of their age and like playing shows with them. So growing up, you were like, you can make it. You just write a good song, and then like you're on MTV. And TRL and whatever.
Oh, that was before the politics of like how this industry works and everything got involved. Yeah.
But for this, I'm going to go a little deeper into Central Illinois, Polyvinyl Records, Midwest emo, which is very shoegazy, sort of like chimey guitars. So I'm talking like American football. And like Owen and like all of that sort of genre.
My son's name
of music.
Your
son's name is American football.
No, it's Owen. Come on. But I bought a T-shirt of Owen, not even know who they were.
Hey Mercedes and Braid and all of those bands with like really clean chimey guitars, singers that sound like they shouldn't really be singing. And,
that's the best thing about rock and roll.
But that like first wave, like Captain Jazz influenced Midwest emo. Is what I will call out as historically significant music that I dig out of Chicago, because you already took house music.
I mean, I went through all the genres, so like everything is fair game.
And I didn't know Disturbed was from Chicago.
I didn't either. I was going to say
I didn't know that either.
I didn't know that either.
I'm down with the Signet.
When I was doing the research, I'm like, I didn't know Disturbed was from. I didn't know. Actually, didn't know. What do you call it? Muddy Waters was from there too, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah, big time.
Did not know that.
Well, he
Obviously
was from the
Buddy guy.
South, but I think I think the Cadillac Records was in Chicago, which was
and we've still got a decent blues scene in terms of like Buddy Guy's has a venue there.
I saw Buddy Guy on his 80th birthday perform here with Jeff Beck, and it was fucking amazing.
cow.
I mean, the guy was so brilliant live still. I'm like, this dude's 80s, running around on
I
stage.
swear to God, I saw him 30 years ago on his 80th birthday. Like, that guy's been 80 for 40 years.
When I was
Like
researching,
always been old.
I got a music fact. When I was like researching this, and I was checking out, this actually combines Chicago and Minneapolis. I didn't know that Bob Dylan actually proposed to Mavis Staples.
For real?
Yeah.
I didn't know
I
that
did not
either.
know that either.
Bobby Zimmerman from Minnesota.
Robert Zimmerman.
That's funny.
Minnesota. Yep.
I seldomly travel out of the state of Michigan, but if I do, it's usually to go to Chicago. I was actually, my girlfriend and I just went there. We went and saw Janelle Monáe at the Aragon Ballroom.
Oh,
and that was fucking
probably
awesome.
great.
It was amazing.
Dude, the 50 Cent show was great too.
The 50 Cent show here was amazing. Yeah, shout out to 50. That was a lot of fun. But yeah, Chicago's awesome. I've been out there. The last time prior to that was probably to see the Motet like 10 years ago at a Halloween show or something. But yeah, I love the city of Chicago. It's so much fun. We stayed right in downtown Wrigleyville, and just everything is right
I
there.
used to work in Wrigleyville.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, we stayed. It was weird. There was no one working at the hotel we stayed at. Everyone worked remotely. It was the Hotel Collection Chicago, Wrigleyville.
was it a haunted hotel?
There
hasn't been a hotel there for years.
The only thing that grinds my gears about Chicago is the parking.
You can check in, but you can never check out.
Yeah, I mean, parking in Chicago is it is what it is.
Dude,
Chicago has got a.
we took the
long
train.
It took me.
corruption.
Yeah, I paid $60 to park around Millennium Park. Last time I was there.
That was the greatest thing about moving out of Chicago and moving to Milwaukee, is that like I can get to wherever I need to be in Milwaukee in 15 minutes. It's taken me longer than 15 minutes to find a parking spot once I get to the place that I need
That
to
was,
in Chicago.
that was
one
the
of the
reason my girl and I drove. We took the Amtrak because we were like, why have a car
so the
there?
train is amazing.
That's my gripe about the city of Detroit is the public
my
transportation
God,
is
it's the
fucking
worst.
awful.
I was gonna say we normally bike or take the train if we're
Yep.
going around.
My like to tie beer and music, whatever. Like my favorite Chicagoers that you didn't already mention, like Wilco and all that, but like Jonathan already mentioned Smokin' Popes. I am a huge Smokin' Popes fan. My kids are a huge Smokin' Popes fan. Like they're amazing. And then
Josh played at our brewery, and I didn't even know he was going to play.
I did.
It
Was my phone not working? You didn't
It
tell
was
me that
one
Josh
of,
was going to be
one
there.
of his group. He was like doing a group.
Yeah,
with
yep.
one of his groups, and they started setting up. They're like, "Do you have a PA?" I was like, "Yeah, we got one in the basement I can set up." And it was him, and I was like, "This guy was so familiar to me." And I go up, and he starts singing a Duval song, and I was like, That's weird. He's covering like an EP that probably me and 500 other people bought. But that's a weird one to warm up with. And then he goes into like a more popular Smoking Pope song. I was like, I'm sticking around tonight. There's like 30 people here, and he's playing an acoustic set. It was so cool.
I'm a huge Smoking Post fan, and my kids, like, you know, like you influence your kids, like whatever you're listening to.
Yeah,
like
right.
They know it. My kids know more of the lyrics to the songs that I play than I do. It's weird. like they question it. Like, I didn't know that that's what they said. Okay, like, how did you hear that?
You gotta stop listening to so much Big Frida.
Dude, hold on, no. We went to my girl and I. We went to Roots Picnic not too long ago, and Big Frida was actually there.
Oh hell yeah! They used to play in Chicago all the time at the Street Fest, and it is the wildest live show I've ever seen. It fucking rules.
Yeah.
So my youngest daughter has, like, it was her favorite song was the Smoking Pope song, and so my old bandmates and I, like it was during COVID and lockdown, like you can't do birthdays, and so we did these videos, and so my buddies and I like recorded a cover of this song, but we changed the lyrics for her.
Yeah.
And it was great. Like,
that's amazing.
She loved it.
She probably loved it.
Like, oh yeah, it was amazing. Well, I learned later that like one of the guys I used to work in a bar in Chicago with is like best friends with Josh. Like enough so that like when Josh and his wife were on their anniversary date, called him and like come to the bar. We're gonna hang out.
Oh wow,
that's pretty tight.
And so you guys know Summerfest in Milwaukee, like the largest music. Like
I'm not familiar, but that's all. Yeah,
dude. Please come to Milwaukee. We'll hang out.
Okay.
We'll go to Summerfest. It's the largest music festival that happens.
Like the place that Aerosmith plays in Milwaukee.
It's
wait, what?
Everybody.
Oh, it's huge. Okay.
Like everybody.
Yeah.
Like so it used to be one long thing. Like 14 days or whatever. They changed it, especially post-pandemic, that it's a bunch of weekends in a row because they realized like you're not going to get the same attendees on a Monday and Tuesday night or whatever, like, so we're just going to do a bunch of weekends in a row. But it is the largest names. It's like there's more bands playing at one time than any place else.
That's
like,
awesome.
It's all
like
over. It's a festival grounds.
Yeah.
Like and it's kids. It's like every type of music all over the place, multiple stages. There's no place that has more concert stages in a smaller spot than Summerfest in Milwaukee. Mm-hmm. So the Smoking Popes are playing this summer. And for years, I've been like trying to take the kids. I'm like, all right, it's happening. So I take my kids. And I messaged my buddy. He was like, hey, are you coming up? Because, like, you know them. He's like, no, I can't. I was like, hey, I'm bringing the littles, because he used to work with my wife in Chicago at a bar. And he's like, oh, great first show. I'm like, yeah, like... You think about your first show. Like mine was Bob Dylan. My dad, huge fan. But their first show is the Smoking Popes.
That's really cool.
And I text my buddy and I was like, hey, and we did this, and I just sent him the message of like the video that we did. He's like, oh my god, that's amazing. Sent it to Josh. He screenshots like, holy crap, that's amazing. And like next thing you know, on my Instagram page, the Smoking Popes like this and Smoking Popes like this.
So they just went through like a liking spree? That's the shit. Amazing. I love that.
Yeah, so love the Smoking Popes. Actually recently bought a guitar off of a guy from Facebook Marketplace. And you know it's right when like the dude literally has a Smoking Popes tattoo.
Meant to be. That is awesome.
So let's go into something new and then wrap up.
Something new for sure. There has been quite a bit of music that came out since the last time that we saw you guys here. I've been jamming out to, I'm pretty excited. In a few days here, me and my girlfriend and my old roommate Sean are going to see Little Dragon at where is it at? The Majestic? I think it's at the Majestic Theater. But the band that is supporting them on tour is this group called April and Vista. And they decided to...
When is that show? I'm sorry, Neil.
October 8th.
Got it.
Yep. They decided to put a little 4-song EP out with their opening group, and it's called Slipping Into Color, and I think it's really awesome. Yeah, it's a collaboration between the two of them. So I'm hoping they'll play some of it with each other when we see them at the show, because that would be really cool. I'm just a gigantic Little Dragon fan.
I might join you guys on that. In fact,
You should definitely do that.
Damn near, I'm probably going to join.
Yeah, you should definitely do that. But yeah, Little Dragon, there, like, I don't know, her voice just puts me like in the most peaceful state of mind. So I've just always been a big fan of them, and the fact that they're still putting out as high quality music now as they did when they started is something that's impressive to me as well. But yeah, that's what I've been jamming to the most. There's also a new Nick Grant album out, which I really been enjoying too. What is the name of it? I gotta pull that up. Sunday Dinner is the name of the Nick Grant one. And then I also enjoyed Doja Cat's album.
We got to see Nick Grant too, actually. At
Nick Grant
was at Jazz Fest.
Yeah, he played with Kareem Riggins and BJ the Chicago Kid and a few other cats at Jazz Fest as part of the concert series that weekend. So that was sweet. But then beyond that, there's one more that I want to talk about briefly, and it's by a friend of ours, Mike Sabatini. He goes by Jaws That Bite. He's got a new album coming out in the end of October called Lullaby League. And he gave me a early listen on it, and I was able to listen to that today, and I really, really enjoy it. He makes instrumental music. I don't even really know you can't box him in, really. His music is its own. And I'm going to close the podcast with a song that he gave me permission to play tonight when we get out of here. But I just wanted to make sure I shouted out Jaws the Bite. I can't wait for everybody to hear this. I can hear this music being in movie scores. I could see it getting remixed by rappers. I could definitely see people freestyling over some of the shit that he does, and I'm really happy for him. And the fact that his label is putting him like as the front runner right now and really pushing for him to go. So shout out Jaws the Bite. That's my something new. E-Man, what do you got?
So I'm gonna fire off a few at you. The Nick Grant album I actually recently listened to was fucking great. It's the Sunday Dinner.
Mm-hmm. It's awesome.
I enjoyed it. You know what? I'm gonna be honest with you. I was not expecting to like this Doja Cat album.
Oh man, it's so good.
I was not expecting to like it. There is.
I knew it was gonna be awesome.
Several tracks. I'm probably coming like Fuck the Girls. I'm probably coming back to.
That sounds great.
That's going on the playlist.
Love Your
Paint
Life
the
is
Town,
dope.
like even the singles, like I didn't, like Paint the Town Red. I really didn't like that single when it first came out, but actually it opens the album and kind of how it fits in like the actual scheme of how it works out is actually
that
really
beat
great too.
is so good.
Yeah.
I love the sample.
I like
shit.
that she kind of went with the no features look too, so that was actually pretty cool as well. But yeah,
I mean, she's just like she said. She was like, "I'm not doing the pop shit anymore. This is a rap album. You guys are getting a rap album. It's a fucking rap album.
Pretty great.
It's really good."
That I did listen to the Sid Diary the Kid album as well. That
I did not. Is he from Detroit?
No.
No?
No.
For some reason I thought he was.
No, I think he's from like the West Coast or something like that.
Maybe it's because he was on a song with Royce or something. Maybe
That sounds about right. That I know we've talked about it a few times, but I've been back to Scaring the Hoes at least like a few times.
Shout out Danny Brown, JPEG
I go back to
Mafia.
the album at least like 2 or 3 times a week.
That's one of. I think that's honestly maybe the best rap album of the year.
That might be my
It's weird as
favorite rap
shit,
album.
but it's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean,
Scaring the Hoes with Danny Brown and JPEG Mafia.
And as we thought, they announced that Bruiser Thanksgiving is
coming
going to
to
be them.
Of
so
course. Yep.
That's going to be fun. So, what about you, fellas? Well, you already kind of gave us a 2 and 1.
Yeah, I wasn't planning that. But go ahead.
Oh, and the Terrence Martin, James Fauntleroy album.
That album's
album
great.
was pretty great. Okay, I'm done.
Oh man, that's a great question. I've been listening to a lot of metal lately. It's not in the last week or anything, but certainly in the last 6 months, a band called Spirit World put out an album called Death Western.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Just like it's like if Pantera was recorded better. So like, the guitar tones are a lot better, and it doesn't sound like that '90s like boss pedal,
Yeah.
sort of like completely sucked dry distortion that Dimebag was doing. Awesome. But it's also just like sort of a concept album about like zombies in cowboys.
So also
I like that.
soundtrack music.
But I think it's been out this year, and that's probably the most recent thing that I've been really into.
Nice. Yeah, I'm not a huge metal guy, but I like music that like dips their toes in it. Like I like to see Humphreys McGee live a lot, and they'll fuck you up with some metal, and that's a lot of fun.
I mean, they classify like System of a Down as new metal. I'm like System of a Down is probably one of my favorite bands. Period. So
they're great.
But I do like some hard rock and shit. I just saw Queens of the Stone Age. By no means is it metal, but
It's hard.
I just saw them as well.
Tool.
Their new record's good too. Actually,
I love it, man. And they were phenomenal live, man.
I saw them
so
at Riot
great.
Fest in Chicago. And it
Awesome.
was awesome.
Yeah, I had a blast. they'd been on my bucket list forever, and for whatever reason, every time they came to town, there was something that got in the way of me going. So I was really excited to see them.
I was seeing them, and halfway through their set, ICP started. And so my wife and I were like, when are we ever going to see ICP again? And so we go over to the ICP stage, and they weren't prompt. These guys.
ICP?
I don't know what you'd expect from them, but we wait 5 minutes. They don't get on. There's just cases and cases of Faygo on the stage, and no ICP. We wait 10 minutes, no ICP. 15 minutes, and I'm like, I don't think, like, we got to get back to the other stage. We got to watch another band. So whoop whoop to ICP, but I enjoyed Queen's live, and I was really bummed that I didn't get the opportunity to see them live because it's a business. You gotta show up on time.
Yeah.
The
ICP does not strike me as punctual.
No,
people. I'm gonna be honest with you.
the beef with Eminem and ICP started because Eminem tried to give Violent J a CD and he turned it down, and then Eminem went on the radio and said, "Fuck ICP, buy my CD."
So I have a friend of mine that actually engineered their whatever most recent album they put in, and my first question was like, how much Faygo is in that studio? And his response was none. Actually, I'm like, I was disappointed. I was legit disappointed.
That is
For sure.
I mean, you've been drinking Faygo for like 40 years, like not 40, but like 20 years.
Yeah.
But I'm
There's
like,
only so much body or Faygo your 50-year-old body can
That's
sustain.
true. They might keep it to performance only now.
Yeah. That's pretty funny.
The new thing, I think it's similar to you. Like, it's an album that's not out yet. So my very good friend's band in Minneapolis, they're making a new record. I got to help with like some of the mixes and stuff like that. But it's a band called Ahem, Hahem, like Ahem.
nice.
But super cool, like kind of like 90s pop punk, like it's not punk, but like I don't know, just very 90s
That
vibe.
pop punk sound is kind of coming back
right,
a
but
little
like
bit.
it's not very punk. Like they got pigeoned into that like early on, but it's just good, feel good music. Like my kids love it, I love it. Like it has all the vibes. But the new record that they made, I've been listening to their mixes and stuff like that. They were hoping to release it this summer. It's probably going to be next year, but their new record is going to be amazing. They recorded.
Phil just dropping in the newest shit.
Yeah.
That shit is -1.
Oh yeah. They recorded at Pachyderm Studio, where like Nirvana recorded In Utero.
Oh wow.
Shit.
Yeah. It's legit. It's amazing. Their single. It is the purest of like just turn down all of your windows in your car, blare it, driving 80 miles on the highway, just like summer, just feel like it has all the vibes. It feels so great. But Ahem is great out of the Twin Cities. Just tie all that together.
And speaking of Midwest, right now, currently as we sit here, Green Bay and the Lions are playing, and we're already running long. So we want to at least watch the second half of that game.
Right.
So before we get up out of here,
I want to read the can off real quick because I didn't.
Sure.
Yeah.
Usually I do the Untapped descriptions. I'm not going to do that today because it just came out. So I
was also going to say to plug whatever you guys feel like plugging before we go.
Oh yeah.
Hey You is an IPA. Okay, am I supposed to say it like that? Hey You is an IPA fermented with Cochise and hop with a blend of Citra, Columbus, and Cryopop from Yakima Chief hops. I notoriously
YCH.
fuck up like pronunciations
Shout out
like
to
that.
Nico Thomas.
I applaud you for the attempt.
Yakima Chief hops. Luminously dank and citrusy with background layers of tropical fruit and pine. Brewed in collaboration with Fair State Brewing. Coming in at 6.5 ABV. And what is the IBUs on this, guys? I'm glad you guys are here so you can answer
It's a couple 2-3.
We We don't mark it, but it's probably in the 40s or 50s.
All right, so I'm gonna get the Untapped rating a 5, just because I'm not gonna pull it up, but it is pretty. Honestly, I liked it a lot. So I like the Citra hops have like that kind of like that citrusy flavor to it. It's nice and piney. It had like that hop bitterness. I do like the fact that it's a it has that Kolsch style. You can't say Kolsch because unless it's in Cologne, Germany, it's not a true Kolsch.
Yeah.
But Kolsch style, yeah.
it's style.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's dude. I really enjoy this a lot. So,
And,
yeah,
and I'm
you
not
guys are
dissing by
part
not
of
drinking it. I'm just not drinking anymore. So
No, but you're
I take your
drinking
word
Castle
on it.
Which one-
Mark,
Drinking
which
this.
like if I was gonna pick
Which
something,
ones were dry hopped?
We used all of those in the dry hop, but the biggest influence was probably the cryo pop.
Yeah,
which
Cryo
was,
pop?
Yeah, that's a weird thing that we do at Fair State. It is, yeah, cryo pop is just like all of the like fruitiest and like funnest,
like all
yeah.
the coolest shit, and then you make cryo. It's basically hop keef. So it's like just like the dust of the hops
Yeah.
that you're
Gotcha.
putting in with none of the vegetal matter.
Yeah.
And so it just like hits harder.
Yep.
And it's awesome. It's really cool.
Yeah,
Well,
we're
you're getting-
lucky that we get all the coolest stuff from YCH.
Yeah.
We'll also have to make an introduction with you guys. We work, one of the people that has been sponsoring us is a brewery called Arctic Circle Brewing Company, and our buddy Devin.
Repping
is
hard, baby,
the
repping
brew
hard.
Awesome.
Our buddy Devin, who's been on the podcast, is the brewmaster, and he's local as well. So he's really good.
They
at
do
brewing as
small
well.
batch stuff. I mean, they're getting into the distribution game a little bit. Like he just got I forgot. I don't know where they can at. I don't want to disclose that source, but yeah, he.
Is it that secret?
I don't know, man. I'm saying that because I don't know. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Truth
But,
be told,
but yeah, Devin, like they make some great, like super. Some of them are really experimental. Some of them are really cool, and they're all like music-based beers. Like I know he has like the Coach called Coach to 4-9, which is after Royce to 5-9.
Yeah, he did like a
Yeah.
Red G Noble as a red ale, is Red G Noble for Red Man, and everything. It's
My
pretty cool.
beautiful dark twisted shandy, which is the Kanye place.
Yeah, they do a lot.
Great.
my buddy Pete that works for Barntown Brewing in Iowa does the Slim Shandy.
Nice.
Gotcha.
I like that.
What's the other one? Just some I forgot where it's at, but Microphone Brewing. Where?
Microphone is by
Mike
us.
is awesome.
Okay, because I know they also do a lot of music based. I want to
A
get.
couple
I want to
Two
talk
Tree-
to those guys.
A couple Two Tree
Yeah,
beers.
they do.
yeah.
They do a lot.
The
of these
MTV
happenings.
one, the Slim Hazy, I think is theirs too.
Yeah.
Like I want to talk to those guys.
Well, you should just go to his tap room.
Where are they based out of?
They're right by us. They're in Elk Grove Village.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
like industrial city to the northwest suburbs of Chicago.
Nice.
Yeah, the whole tap room is like Marshall stacks and microphones and guitars and everything.
Music
It's-
puns.
Yeah.
You said Slim Shandy. Speaking of Eminem, him and I just saw 50 Cent live, and 50 brought Eminem out at the concert. No, it was pretty fucking wild.
I love how Eminem was like, he goes like, you guys gotta act like y'all didn't know I was coming.
But anyways, as I stated beforehand, actually, do you guys want to plug anything before I
Yeah,
play this
plug
last
some
song
socials.
to get up out of here?
No, thank you so much for having us on.
Thank you so much for being
I'm
here.
from Hopewell Brewing in Chicago, Illinois. We're in the Logan Square neighborhood of Chicago. We have a tap room open, and we distribute in Illinois and Michigan. If you see us out on the shelf, pick us up and try us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm Fair State Phil. We didn't plan it that way, but it just works well
It
as
does.
far as a name. But yeah, Fair State Brewing Co-op in Northeast Minneapolis, union made, cooperatively owned. We distribute to a lot of states, including Michigan and Illinois and Minnesota and Wisconsin. But we also sell beer to Japan. Like it's
Oh, shit.
it's- yeah,
Wow.
It's all over. I think my time in Michigan this week has been amazing. Everybody that we've talked to has been super fucking friendly. It's been great. I can't wait to come back, not just with Jonathan, but to hang out with all of you guys, and then obviously Stop Garden for hosting us.
Yeah, thank you,
tonight.
Shout out
Stock
to
Garden,
Mark,
for
man.
hosting
Yeah,
us. Thank
appreciate
you, Mark.
again.
This is amazing. This building is ridiculous.
It's beautiful.
I'm just mad that the Airbnb was like booked, so we can't just walk upstairs. Next time,
I was saying that it's just not true. It's cap, to be honest.
I used to have like the trombone. I forgot what number it was. There it is.
that would be a hard Meemaw. But yeah, no, I appreciate you guys like for having us on. We just like hanging out with each other, and making new friends, and you guys are now friends. So
Absolutely,
Love it,
man.
man. Yeah.
And you always have a place to stop by if you ever want us to promote any of your guys' beer on the show or whatever.
No, we
holler
just
at
want to
us,
drink.
and we
Like,
will
no,
do
no,
it.
no, let's do that.
That too.
I just gotta go to the shows you're going to. You seem a lot more tuned in than me.
Way cooler than me.
Well, anyways, as previously stated, to take us out of the podcast tonight, I'm going to play a song by my good buddy Jaws That Bite. This is a new single that it will be, well, by the time you hear the podcast, it will actually be out. His new single called Burner. Here's a little bit of that, and we will catch you guys later.
Peace.
Peace.
Pasta.
Pasta.
Oh, shit.